begin with, I will ask Kamma Achana and Panchashil Achana to Bhante. Okasa Vandami Bhante Dwarat Ena Maya Katam Sabba Aparadam Kamatume Bhante Dutiyampi Okasa Vandami Bhante Dwarat Ena Maya Katam Sabba Aparadam Kamatume Bhante Tatiyampi Okasa Vandami Bhante Dvarata ena maya katam sabba aparadam kamatu me bhante. Panchashilachana. Okasa aham bhante tisaranena sa panchasila dhammam yachami anukkaha katva silam detame bhante. Dutiyampi okasa aham bhante tisaranena saha panchasila dhammam yachami anukkaha katva silam detame bhante. Tatiyampi okasa aham bhante tisaranena saha panchasila dhammam yachami anukkaha katva silam detame bhante.
Let's say Namo Tassa 3 times. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Please repeat after me. Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Buddham saranam gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammam saranam gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sangham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammam saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sangham saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddham saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammam saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sangham saranam gacchami.
Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Pāṇātiپātā veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Adinādāna veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Adinādāna veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Kāmesu miccāchāra veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Kāmesu miccāchāra veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Musāvādā veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Musāvādā veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Surameraya majjapama daṭṭhāna veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Sūrāmeraya maccapamādaṭṭhāna veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Tisaranena saddhing panchaseelang dhammang sadhukang surakhitam katva appamadena sampade tabbang.
Aham Bante. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, let's begin. This is part 2 of the Noble Eightfold Path discussion. And those who were here last week are aware that we have discussed the Sammaditthi, the right understanding aspect of the Noble Eightfold Path. And we have studied it in various ways and understood that without having this proper understanding, someone is not able to cultivate the second, third, up until the eighth limb of the Noble Eightfold Path. And you may wonder today, like why we split it into two parts and how we can just study the first aspect of the Eightfold Path in one session and all the other in another session. The first aspect alone requires so much wisdom and understanding. And by doing the teachings on the first aspect and looking at the questions that were asked, I realized that um, the Pali quotes that I may have used during the talk are in Pali, and some of you may not be familiar with Pali language, so um, it's easy that your mind will not process them as fast. And in any case, the summary of what I have taught in that first teaching is that the first aspect of the Noble Eightfold Path is very, very important as it is about having an understanding about dukkha and what dukkha actually is, and arising of dukkha, the cessation of dukkha, and the path leading to the cessation of dukkha. So dukkha, dukkha samudaya, dukkha nirodha, and the path, the magga. So dukkha in general is the transient nature that is bound with impermanence, something that you cannot claim as yours. You cannot hold onto as yours. Anything that brings you unsatisfactoriness, whether it is getting sick, old age, being born, aging, expecting something and it does not happen according to your wish. I wanted it this way, and you complain, and right there you see dukkha. Most people suffer the moment when things don't go the way they intended. Husband telling wife, I told you to do it this way, and you have, not turned off the switch, light bulb. That is right there is a moment of suffering that your ego to discipline someone. See, I told you, and it's because of not following my advice, not taking it my way, that you caused this trouble. But the person who's telling that is suffering because their ego, their order, their instructions are not followed. And immediately there is attachment to that instruction that was given. But someone who is talking less and less and ultimately silent, who's not telling anything when someone has done such mistakes, is completely at peace. And oftentimes the society, friends say, oh, you see, I forgot to do this, but My boss didn't say anything. Right there, they observed that silence as a response, a kind response. But you can be silent and you can also be aggressive in that silence. But it's not that kind of silence. Anything can go in any way and you have equanimity. So right understanding right there brings you freedom from a little bit of dukkha. In other words, uh, suppose there is any examination that you have to take and that you have taken 99 marks and now you worry about the last 100th mark that was not given to you. Your mind begins to zoom in on that. It's very similar to building a brick wall on your own, and then you see one brick that is not properly aligned, and you start focusing on that. There is suffering there. So suffering is birth is suffering, aging is suffering, death is suffering, um, and getting sick is suffering. In brief, having to live with people that you don't like is suffering, and having to separate from those you love to live with is suffering, and things not going your way is suffering. You wish something and you don't get it, that is suffering. And in brief, 5 aggregates is suffering. And what are the 5 aggregates? Form aggregate, feelings aggregate, perception aggregate, formations aggregates, the aggregate, and consciousness aggregate. These are all about dukkha as they arise and we are not able to see the cessation and they pass away and they continuously keep arising and bothering a being who exists in any form of existence in the samsara. All right, I saw a message coming. Let me see. It came from your organization. If my voice or something is affected, or you are just sending the YouTube link. It's all right. And let's now see how to overcome this suffering. It's in this very eightfold path, and right now you can experiment it. See your attachments right now. And we are looking at the second aspect of the Noble Eightfold Path today, that is called Samma Sankappa, right thoughts. Samma means harmonious, right, and Sankappa, thoughts. Where do you have the thoughts? You have them in your mind. If you have a thought of attachment, you are suffering. If you don't have that thought of attachment, you are not suffering. Isn't it some relief? It appears so profound, but right there you start saying, oh, if I let go of a little, I will have a little relief. If I let go to a medium length, I will have a medium length of suffering, freedom, relief. If I let go so much, I will have so much of freedom. And this second aspect, how does it make you feel very noble? By letting go of that attachment. Great renunciation, nekkhamma, became mahanekkhamma, mahabhinikmana, as the Prince Siddhartha let go of the royal life and abandoned his luxuries and entered the forest. That is letting go. But if he did not let go also in his mind, he will return back to the palace. So just before joining this session, I had a discussion with a friend on Zoom, and there they were trying to explain something. I want to go to a retreat center, and I don't want to follow their technique, but I want to do my technique. And I was radiating loving kindness to my friend. I saw so much suffering in there. It's a lot of I. If you can live one day without the word I, without thinking of that word, or my, or myself, and instead saying it instead of I think you will start seeing what a transformation you experience in your mind. So, in the second aspect of the Noble Eightfold Path, letting go, nekkhamma, is very, very important. And immediately, the moment you let go, you have a relief. That tension in your mind, having to explain this, it disappears. It's like you are on an air balloon going up into the sky, and you realize it cannot go any further. And you now need to empty any of your weight to be able to reach further. So you start dropping your valuables. Anything that you think is heavy, you let go. All that is left is just you and the air balloon. So it starts climbing. But now you realize it will not go any further. Why? Because it's carrying your weight. What do? You let go of the air balloon and the air balloon goes free. You jump off. It's not recommended, but isn't it the case that when you are controlling so much of your own existence in any form, when you haven't let go of that controlling, you are bound to suffer. Now I'll tell you a little story. There were two monks. One monk is the teacher, the other monk is the student. When they were on a journey, they were returning from village to the monastery. It rained and the river flooded, and there was a lady wanting to cross the river. And the senior monk decided to help her, but the junior monk questioned this motive, but didn't say anything because it's inappropriate to question the teacher, he thought. But the senior monk, without having such thoughts, touched the woman and carried her and put her on the other side of the river and silently went on to the monastery. And the junior monk was so upset about this. And he continued his silence, and the senior monk observed this silence and asked, is there anything that you want to tell? Is there anything that you want to discuss? And the junior monk said, see, you touched a woman. You are not supposed to do that. You carried her onto the other side of the river. And the senior monk very compassionately said, well, I did touch her, but I also put her down on the other side of the river. It seems like you are still carrying her in your mind. See, this is a story of letting go. Most things that you haven't let go have never brought you any peace. Letting go, you go to the furthest end of it by letting go of perceptions, sanya, feelings, any feeling that you have, coming at equanimity. There is neither perception nor non-perception, nothing to perceive there. Very subtle state of your mind. And that kind of mind is ready for cessation. But cessation alone does not give you nibbana unless you emerge from it and experience, oh, things are now different. It's like a tadpole coming out of water and for the first time experiencing the land. The world so different, perspectives are different. Experience ceased, and now you are ready to let go of greed as you start seeing their arising and cessation, hatred, as you start seeing the arising of hatred and cessation, and delusion, as you start seeing the arising of delusion and cessation of it. So, with that, we can explore a little bit more about the second aspect of the Noble Eightfold Path. Nekkhamma Sankappa, the thoughts of letting go, give you freedom from dukkha. Avyapada Sankappa, thoughts of loving kindness, no anger, gives you freedom from dukkha. The Buddha said, if you radiate loving kindness, even for achara sanghata mattang, for a moment of making a snap using your fingers, even for that kind of a moment, it gives you so much of benefits. So always resort into loving kindness, not hatred. Hatred is easy. Getting angry is easy, but what is difficult is resort into loving kindness. Why? People don't do beneficial things. When you radiate loving kindness, you are the first person to benefit from it. Nobody else. But holding on to anger, listen to your wisdom now. Holding on to anger is like keeping something burning in your hand and wanting somebody else to be burnt. Or it is like drinking poison and wanting somebody else to die. They don't die, you die from anger. So, because of right understanding, you see that there's no use of holding on to any anger. You let go. And you begin immediately seeing the benefit of Dhamma. Sandittika, immediately effective nature of Dhamma. The quality of Dhamma, that you start to feel relief. Oh, I do feel this relief. Why? Instead of hating someone, you started loving kindness. So nekkhamma thoughts of letting go, and then avyapada thoughts of non-anger, and thirdly, avihimsa thoughts of non-harming, no cruelty, immediately bring you freedom from dukkha. Imagine if it can bring you that kind of freedom momentarily. Think about letting go of everything, every attachment, letting go of all anger forever, for the eternity, letting go of cruelty forever. How much peace your mind will experience. How hard it is to find a noble being who has completely let go of greed, hatred, and delusion. These three conceptualizations in the mind. When you start seeing that, isn't it possible that this person's mind becomes so pure for all the times? And because of the relief they experience, they always keep going back to having right thoughts of letting go, thoughts of loving kindness, thoughts of not having any cruelty toward oneself and others. And it leads to the next aspect of the Eightfold Path. They begin speaking the truth. They begin speaking gentle words. They begin speaking timely. They begin, always not being harmful toward others. They don't use mukhasatta, words like weapons that can be destructive to someone else. Instead, they use madhura, sweet words. If they can do that, they have the training to remain silent. See, we have now discovered Samma Ditti, right understanding, Samma Sankappa, right thoughts, and then Samma Vacha, right words, right speech, proper speech. Those who have cultivated proper speech, they are believed, they are trusted by so many in the world. People believe their words. It's like a sweet fragrance coming out of their mouth, that they have shared something valuable to the world through speaking. If not, they have the ability to not say anything. They have the ability to remain silent. And because of right understanding, they came this far, and they now investigate, how else can I live free from dukkha? They see that their actions need to be clean. They stop stealing, they stop harming anyone or killing any living being. They stop engaging in cheating. They don't cheat in any form, they don't. They are content with their own relationships and affairs. They see there is so much dukkha, so much suffering if they start cheating. They don't commit adultery. They are able to see with wise understanding that it leads to harm for oneself and harm for others. That's a noble mind. They let go. And they also let go of alcoholism. They let go of intoxication, any such addiction, drugs, cocaine, anything that intoxicates their body. When their actions become so pure, they look at the noble livelihood. In that noble livelihood, Samma Ajiva, very much supported by Samma Kammanta, the previous aspect of the Noble Eightfold Path. Right deeds, right actions lead into a right livelihood, where you don't sell animals, you don't sell harmful weapons, you don't sell meat, you don't sell liquor, you don't sell poison. You do not engage in such things directly or indirectly in your life. Because if you do kill beings out there as a form of living, you see that it creates so tremendous amount of suffering within your own being. With that understanding, you resort to righteous way of living. You ask for suggestions from your friends and you begin, oh, this is not harmful to me. This is not harmful to anyone out there. This is not harmful to any living entity. So you begin living harmoniously. That is called Samma Ajiva, right livelihood. The way you make an income is no way harming anyone in the world. And now you have prepared yourself appropriately, and you see, what else can I do to overcome any suffering? That question leads to making a proper effort, samma vayam. In there, you see 4 aspects. You see what is wholesome and what is unwholesome. For example, mindfulness is wholesome, lacking mindfulness and falling into defilements is unwholesome. When you start seeing like that, you start seeing, oh, I have 4 ways to make effort. The first way is about what is unwholesome. When you see anything unwholesome arising in your mind, you don't set your focus on that. You quickly remove it, like you seeing a bit of dirt, like feces. You don't step on it. You quickly take yourself away. See that reaction. The moment, with tremendous effort, any impurity that causes you restlessness, any hindrance, sensual delight, any form of sloth and torpor, anything that hinders the path to freedom from dukkha, you quickly remove it from you. It's like someone trying to put a dead snake as a garland in your neck. You say, no, please don't do that. You see that reaction, you immediately jump off and you do not allow that to happen. And if you see the impurities arisen, it's inevitable that impurities have arisen in your mind, may have arisen in your mind. You do not cultivate them further. You reduce them and then make them zero and keep it that way. So you do not make new defilements, or you do not continue the arisen defilements. And what about the good side, wholesome aspects? When you see that anything wholesome has arisen in you, generosity, mindfulness, investigating your experience, gladness, jhanas, you cultivate them. That is right effort. And when you see mindfulness has already been established in you, you develop them further. That is right effort. Before it is arisen, it has arisen, you make sure that it arises. And when it has been arisen, you cultivate it further. Why? You see, you had the right understanding, right thoughts, right speech, right actions, and now you are at right effort. All right? So you saw samma ditti, right understanding, samma sankappa, right thoughts, right? Samma vacha, right words, samma kammanta, right actions, samma ajiva, right livelihood, and now you are at samma vayam, right effort, effort to let go of unwholesome and cultivate what is wholesome, what is beneficial, what contributes to what is conducive to awakening. You cultivate them. And finally, you have 2 very important aspects. You have arrived at them: samma sati and samma samadhi, right mindfulness and right unification of your mind, collectedness of your mind. See now, Having traveled the path, you came to Samma Sati. And it's suggestive of Miccha Sati, wrong mindfulness. Someone who is anxious, try to be mindful of it, anxiety develops. Someone applies wisdom and let it be, not try to control it, anxiety disappears. And that is right mindfulness. Applying wisdom and seeing how mind's attention moves from one thing to another. Hundreds and billions of times you can say, I'm eating, I'm eating, I'm eating, I'm eating, I'm walking, I'm walking. That's not right understanding. Right? That's not right mindfulness. But seeing what your mind does when you do all these gazillion of activities is very important. Your mind can cultivate greed, hatred, and delusion. And immediately noticing this requires mindfulness. Sampajanakari hoti, sati sampajanya, mindful, clear comprehension. Combined with clear comprehension, catching them immediately brings you nibbanic relief, moments of nibbana, freedom. Now you see why it leads to freedom from dukkha. Noticing how mind's attention moves from one thing to another with wisdom in such a way that it leads you to skillfully directing your mind towards nibbana is mindfulness. I'll say that again. What is mindfulness? Remembering to observe how mind's attention moves from one thing to another in such a way that it is focused on nibbana, freedom from dukkha, is mindfulness. Very skillful directing of your mind. Think about your own experience of having some bodily pain. Mindfulness is directed at it now. Now you have a pain in your knee. And this pain, wisdom tells, applying wisdom with mindfulness tells that, oh, it's a bodily pain. Now you are conscious on it. And you see, when you have consciousness, you are experiencing a body. And suddenly somebody brings ice cream. You forget about the knee pain and you like ice cream. And now the mindfulness goes to how that liking to ice cream came about. That is a mental experience. You became conscious on a visual thing and that mentally you have liked it. When you start seeing Dhamma with that kind of attention to mind's movements, you start seeing whether you are driving, walking, talking, you can pay attention to what mind does and direct it to freedom. And now you see the value of collectedness, unification, samadhi. Dhi is mind and intelligence. Sama is equality, keeping it balanced. Samadhi, very lotus-like mind. Seeing the impurities like in a lotus, around the lotus there are impurities, even on those petals that are coarse. And when the wisdom lights, the sunlight land on the lotus, you look at my hands, it opens little by little. And inside is fragrance and beauty and virtues and qualities. And more layers open. The mind opens like each jhana opens within, one jhana, there is another and another and another. And this is proper samadhi, samma samadhi. First jhana is about letting go of sensual pleasures and hindrances. And there is piti sukha, joy and happiness born of seclusion. and you pervade and permeate your body with that piti sukha, joy and happiness. And now you are ready to enter into the second jhana, samadhi jang piti sukham. Previously in the first jhana, it was viveka jang piti sukham. In viveka jang piti sukham, it is pleasure and happiness, joy and happiness born of seclusion from hindrances, seclusion from sensual objects, closing your eyes and so on. And the second jhana arises from unification of your mind, samadhi. And there is happiness and joy because of that unification. It's inevitable that you get there. That is samadhi, right samadhi. And third jhana has silencing of your thoughts and equanimity. Noble silence. Less and less thoughts lead to purification of mindfulness through equanimity. Upekka sati parisuddhi. That is entering into the fourth jhana. When you have that kind of profound equanimity, your mind begins to expand. You see infinite space as a base and you cultivate expansion. Space is infinite. Letting go of all forms, you enter that base. And now your focus is on the mind that is experiencing the infinite space, that is consciousness, infinite consciousness. And that you become the base of it and you cultivate it. And now you see, oh, if it was space and if it was consciousness infinitely, what if the disappearance of this space and consciousness, it is nothingness. You are in a blank. And what is the last attainment, last samapatti, very fine base that is called perceiving or non-perceiving of something. Neither perception nor non-perception. Barely perceive anything, no excitement at all. In there, everything is ready to be vanished. You experience, you fall into cessation of consciousness and feelings and perceptions. When there is no perception to perceive, no feelings whatsoever, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, you have nothing to be conscious on. You see cessation right there, but it's not Nibbana yet. You come out of that experience. So you see the path you traveled so far, from right understanding to right thoughts, right speech, right actions, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and thus far into the base of neither perception nor non-perception to final cessation. Now you apply wisdom. Where was greed in there? Where was hatred in there? Where was any delusion in there? Who am I? Is there any I? And how did the concept of I arose? And how empty is that to have that concept? And eventually, you, as a noble being, decide that because of attachment, you wandered many births, and now you don't see any point. Because of not seeing the Dhamma as it is, you wandered everywhere. Your mind was as a hamster, like continuously in a cycle. hamster on a wheel, unstoppable. And now you have so much unification of mind, like you are completely stilled. All the beautiful experiences keep nourishing you, watering you, cooling you down, and giving you the ultimate peace of Nibbana. No fire, nothing, no fuel burning, and you are at final wisdom, proper jnana, proper knowledge, and proper vimutti, samma vimutti, completing the path and becoming an arahant. Any questions?
Yeah, sadhu, 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 Bante, for the Dhamma discourse tonight. Now we will open the forum for question and answers. If you have any questions, please raise your hand, or you can also post your question in the chat box. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. So, Bante, meanwhile, I have a question. So you mentioned like killing living beings. I mean, like, like selling the meat, the butchers. It is not a good thing to do so, but how about the people who eat it? In some countries, like, like they don't have any option, but, like to depend on, non-vegetarian food. So in that case, how, you can explain, it is balanced from Buddhist point of view?
Well, when the Buddha's cousin Devadatta, who will be a Pacheka Buddha in the future, when his karmic consequences end, he's only second to the Buddha. He had aspirations to become the Buddha. Requested the Buddha to make monks vegetarian for lifetime. Okay, Sunil, apply your wisdom here. Now you are the Buddha, and I, as Devadatta, come into you and say, make all the monks vegetarian. What is your response will be? And you say no. For the same reasons, when you go to some remote areas and your lifestyle as a monk is begging, and you beg for 10 days, you only receive some form of meat. And you cannot cook, you don't have anything, you cannot steal. And Sunil will say, just eat, don't think about it. As long as this animal is not killed in your name, as long as you have not seen that it was killed for you, as long as you have no doubt whatsoever that this being was killed, ended life for you. Why the Buddha said that? It is out of great compassion. And then the Buddha said, don't be concerned about the 4 elements you put into the mouth, but be concerned about what you put out from your mouth. So Devadatta was a vegetarian. Hitler also was a vegetarian. And you see any point there that you see many vegetarians who are super angry what is the point? It has nothing to do with the Eightfold Path. It has not what you eat, for the survival of monks, the Buddha just did not make it a rule. Just do not focus on your defilements, and that way you become beneficial to all living beings.
Yeah. Thank you, Bante. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I see a question in the chat box, Bante. Namaste. Since last few months, I am unable to concentrate on my sitting and my awareness is also lacking. How can I develop my awareness?
It appears like you are dealing with some form of restlessness. If you can come to seclusion within your own place of living, um, not being too harsh on yourself, and that way not being harsh to others, you do your normal duties, fulfilling them, making sure that you are not missing any, then coming to peace with you, you'll remove so much of restlessness. And then you start finding a comfortable time, whether it is night, morning, or daytime, and you sit and you start not looking out from the eyes, but looking within, staying quiet in your eyes, quiet in your ears, quiet in your nose. You do not send any signals out there. You let that restlessness be buried and settled. And you will see your awareness coming back, purity of mind arising, and your right effort guiding you onward toward unification of mind. See, I hope that will help.
Yeah. Thank you, Bante. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I see another question in the chat box here from Rashmi and Arat. Namo Buddhaya Vandami Bante. My question is that I'm not eating meat. I'm a vegetarian. However, being a woman, I have to cook meat for my family, but while cooking, I am sharing a metta with that food. If I cut the meat and cooked it, does I am also doing akusala karma?
This question is wrong. The understanding is wrong. Why? There was a Sotapanna woman, very wealthy woman. She saw this man who is a hunter bringing so much meat, and she fell in love with him. She went behind and married him and had 7 children, and these children married to 7 wives, and all of them were hunters. She prepared the food for them. She prepared all the utensils, and she was still a Sotapanna. And one time, the Buddha went to help this family. The Buddha went to the forest and removed the traps, and the main hunter was super angry. And he started seeing who has removed these traps, and he saw the Buddha and wanted to shoot at the Buddha. And he could not move because of the power of the Buddha's psychic abilities. And the oldest son went looking for the father. Same thing. The second son, all the 7 sons, now 8 of them went missing. And now the mother and 7 wives also went. They saw what had happened. And the mother immediately recognized the Buddha said, "My father has come for the benefit of all of us." When she said, "My father," everybody thought, oh, it is her father. But it's not the case. It's not her father. It's just the Buddha being called the father. And then the Buddha gave Dhamma teaching, and they all let go of their unwholesome deeds, and they became Sotapannas. And then the monks asked, how come such a Sotapanna lady go and help a hunter? And didn't she do akusala? And then the Buddha said, you can have a wound in your hand, but if you don't have a wound in your hand and you touch poison, it does not enter your body. In the same way, if you don't have the intention of harming anyone in your mind, and your intention is to prepare a meal, how can you create any unwholesome karma, akusala karma? I hope that answers your wisdom, and that way you find the answer there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Many people easily get trapped in vegetarian question, and it's all Dhamma discussion was about Noble Eightfold Path. Then they start having thoughts about, oh, is this good? Is that good? Not knowing how to look at what is wholesome and what is unwholesome. The moment you start seeing that there is no papa thoughts in your mind, there's no regret in your mind, you are free. That is the benefit of learning wisdom aspect of Dhamma. It does not give you a guarantee to kill anyone. It only gives you a certificate to assure safety and security to all living beings, including yourself. Wisdom tells if you are a killer, it's inevitable that if you killed a human being, you will definitely have enemies and they will be looking for you to kill you. And it's just simple as that. What more can you learn from the whole thing about meat eating discussion? Apply wisdom and be free from any dogmatic thinking. Otherwise, you are forever stuck in some kind of, defense technique using Dhamma, when in reality, Buddha's great compassion was to liberate you from dukkha. So please don't make it a discussion about what to eat, what not to eat. This is about Noble Eightfold Path.
Yeah. Thank you, Bante. I see another question in the chat box from Tumana. Bante, how to let klesha go if it comes very often and not removed totally?
See, you are controlling. You cannot remove it unless you have the right understanding about what is arising and what is passing away. Setupala, causes and effects. Defilements are no different from that. Seeing the escape, the disadvantage of entertaining any defilements gives you the message in wisdom to, oh, I must let go. And right there you start seeing the wise person's luminosity aspect of the mind. And that becomes your guiding principle, and thoughts become less and less about defilements. They become more and more about letting go of defilements. Simple as that. If you eat sugar every too often, what you will have? Just dullness of the mind. When you correct your behaviors, you have sharpness of mind. And because of that sharpness of mind, you start seeing what is active and what is inactive. How did you see it? With mindfulness. And now you see what is right mindfulness. Right mindfulness is about letting go of one defiled thought. When you let go of one defiled thought, you can let go of another. And practically, you are a person who let go and arrive at peace. Okay?
Yeah. Thank you, Bante. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I see another question in the chat box from Ashok Vadsod.
Mhm.
Namo Buddhaya. Please elaborate Sammasam Buddha Samadhi with the simile.
I don't understand the question.
Ashok Kumarji, if you are still here, can you please elaborate your question?
Is it Samma Samadhi, Ashok? Until Ashok put it together, Dr. Sunanda has a question.
Yeah. So, Dr. Sananda, please
Uh,
mute yourself.
yes.
Yeah.
Vandami Bhante,
Mm.
my question is that, like young children, those who have just got admission in the medical college, they are around 17, 18 years of old. And I want to nurture their mind with the teachings of Buddha, but they are not aware of Dhamma. They may be following some other religion, and but I feel that Dhamma will be beneficial to them, and I should explain them about the Dhamma and bring them on, allow them to walk on a path of Dhamma, which will help them in their future. So how I should explain them in short? Can you please tell me something?
Well, no, someone who is at medical school has potential to potential to be stressed out about deadlines and exams and memorizing these terms. Dhamma tells them that these are about timing and getting trapped in that momentary uh, pressure of having to accomplish something in such a short time and being smart, because these kids really fight to get into the medical school. But knowing that the Buddha did not go to medical schools at the time telling Dhamma, I think you should not take it seriously to start teaching Dhamma every moment. But when you see an opportunity that someone is stressed, then you apply just this teaching. Simply breathe in peace, breathe out, let go. Starting from there, if they like, then you begin explaining further about living dukkha free, whether it is a failure or success. Come at the Noble Eightfold Path and see if they are interested in learning it. If they are, then you begin explaining what I explained. Come into right understanding about everything that arises has this transient nature. With that, they don't have to label themselves as failures. So using their own language, you begin explaining how Dhamma can be beneficial, how peace of mind and being unplugged and tranquility can bring them peace. If they are not interested, don't try to be too talkative about Dhamma and you will not be welcome in their places. So let's be careful, noticing if there is a welcoming gesture, you will teach, you will share. If not, you will wait for the moment. And then when you find the moment, you will say, are you willing to listen to a little bit of something I have understood, something that has helped me through this Dhamma? It's okay that they follow other religions. Please allow them to do whatever that brings them peace. They are informed by families and cultures and traditions. It's not our job to tell them what to do and what not to do. I never tell them anything like that. But I speak to the heart. I tell them Okay, you see, there is some anxiety. Look at this little story, a little boy going to the dentist. There's anxiety there. He hates mom, he hates the doctor, and then somehow he is taken to the dentist only to find out that the dentist appointment is cancelled. So what happened to all that anxiety? So much time he wasted on worrying. And that's how you teach them to smart kids. Tell them, stop worrying about, there's no point worrying about a future event that has not come to you. Instead, see what is productive. What is productive is to focus on what to be done instead of thinking about something you can do, prepare to a test or whatever that is bothering you. And that gives you peace and harmony. That is Dhamma.
Thank you, Bante. I just want to share a few things. One thing is that I myself is a dentist. So I have experience about the children who are not willing to take a dental treatment.
There you go.
Another thing about, yeah.
Please tell this story to them.
Yes, yes. And another thing, I'm a medical teacher. I'm teaching the subject dentistry. So, and I have seen that the medical students are really so much of in a stress, and that stress remains with them because of the lot of studies and a lot of very big syllabus, a lot of working hours and all these things. So they definitely become stressed, and if that stress is not released, it remains with them for lifelong, and that affects their families and their patients and everything. So we have decided to take a foundation course for them, and in that, since I am aware of the Dhamma, I have done my master's in Pali language and literature. So I have decided to teach them Dhamma in a different way. Like I'm going to teach them power of a smile, how the smile is important, and how it will help them in their practice and in their
very good, very good. Very
in the
good. Sadhu,
patients.
sadhu, sadhu.
Yes, to treat their patient. Secondly, I have decided to take a second topic, that is loving kindness. How the loving kindness is important for yourself and for the others. When you have a loving kindness towards yourself, that will definitely radiate to others, like their patients and the relatives and everyone. Then third topic, I have decided about the self-care, where in self-care, they need to take their own care. When they are mindful about their own care, they will definitely concentrate on their own. They will be mindful about themselves, loving kindness about themselves, and the same thing will radiate to their patients. Then the fourth topic, I have decided about the ethics. So I'm going to teach them about the general ethics of the life and the nature, and the medical ethics. So these are the few topics. In that, I'll be teaching them mindfulness also, and awareness about the day-to-day life. So is that right, Bhante? And I need your blessing to do this foundation course for them.
Yeah, well, I see it as just one more thing they have to do. They are still students. You are much more relaxed because you are not sitting for those memory killing exams. I
Right.
see that you are basically teaching the Eightfold Path in a beneficial way. And self-care aspect is also, very beneficial, as, loving kindness is self-care. And there are so many rules about violations that, that these students need to be aware of. But if you can make it not an exam, but just not one more thing to do, and somehow show them that, do not label yourself for failures that you feel, and bring motivation to their life. Reduce one more thing from their to-do list, but instead seeing the human life as a being that requires loving kindness, compassion, and start teaching the infinite, infinite loving kindness, infinite compassion, infinite joy, infinite equanimity. These, I'm sure that smiling aspect and continuous practice of seeing uh, these in their ordinary, simple practice of dentistry will forever have a mark in their life.
Yes, Bhante. Thank you so much, Bhante. I need your blessings for that,
Of
Bhante.
course, of course.
I hope I will be able to help them in this path.
I wish
Thank
you
you,
all the
Bhante.
success in there.
Thank you, Bhante.
Vandami Bhante.
Yeah.
Vandami Bhante.
Yes.
I want to correct my question.
Mm-hmm.
Kindly elaborate the Samma Samadhi with simile. That was the question.
Yeah. So
because I'm facing the problem. I'm facing the problem every day. I will do a meditation for 1 hour, but it is not to concentration.
Well, the Buddha's own similes include 4 similes for Samma Samadhi. The first one is, like just a cool bath powder. When you touch it, it's cool everywhere. When you are in the first jhana, it's absolutely felt that way as coolness all over your body, and you just permeate your body with that coolness, just as the bath powder feels that way across every corner of it. And the second jhana is like a lotus, immersed in water, surrounded by much more dense coolness. That coolness increases as it is just water around you. Water has that effect, keeping you in perfect harmony. The third jhana is like water coming to a pond from every direction, but nothing leaks. It's just equanimity pouring from every direction, that you are free floating. And the fourth jhana is like a transparent white cloth, just super brightness, purity all over. So these 4 similes were given by the Buddha for the Samma Samadhi, proper Samadhi. The one I explained is like the lotus example. And if you have seen a lotus, around the lotus, the outer petals are a little dusty because of all the dust around and the exposure to sunlight. But when it starts opening, the inner petals are more delicate, fragranceful, and beautiful, sweet. And samadhi mind opens like that. Inside of each layer is the other layer. Inside in each happens by letting go of what you have already cultivated. Being in perfect harmony in there without rushing, without I being involved. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Bhante. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Yeah, thank you,
I
Bhante.
can take one more question if there is any, because it's coming to 11 p.m., closer to 11 p.m. here. All right.
Yeah, I don't see any questions on this. I think we can
conclude. Yeah, let's share merits. May the suffering ones be suffering free, fear struck, fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, May all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Yeah. Thank you, Bande. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I have a few announcements to make. The first announcement is regarding the Dainik Mahaparitta part, the daily Mahaparitta part. So today evening, as per India time, 7 to 8 p.m., there will be Dainik Mahaparitta part on Isigile Sutta and Dhammachakkapavatana Sutta. And the time is 7 to 8 p.m. India time. And the next announcement is at 8:30 p.m. as per India time, there will be a Dhamma session on Ana Sunday online Vihara. And the topic is practicing the Dhamma with a view of, the topic is Revival of Buddhism and Upcoming Challenges by Dayananda Misarkar sir. He is a Pali and Dhamma scholar, and the time is 8:30 p.m. India time. And as per the US, it is 11 a.m. EST. And the last announcement regarding the next week's Dhamma topic, it is practicing the Dhamma with a view to Nibbana by Ms. Radhika Abesekara, Canada. So that's all for tonight. Thank you all for joining today's Dhamma session. So Bhante, do we have your permission to close today's session?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Bhante. Namo Buddhaya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.